right. Again, welcome everyone to our monthly statewide food pantry conversation. As I mentioned, we don't have a guest speaker today as we've had in the past few months, but hopefully we can use this this meeting as an opportunity for some updates and any peer-to-peer conversation for topics that are of interest to you all right now. I am going to start by asking that if you'd like to share your contact information, your name, organization that you represent in the chat, then we can know who's all on the call and you all can network better together. And I will start just by handing it over to any updates that we might have from Carol at DHS regarding TEFAP. And Jonathan, I'll also open it up to you after Carol if you have any updates from WSCAP.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. I don't have any major updates this month, but I am available if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, that's all I have today. Sorry. I don't have the agenda either, so I apologize if there was anything on there you wanted me to talk about.
Nope, that's great. Thanks
Okay, great.
Carol, and we'll see if there's any questions that folks might have for you.
Sure.
First, we'll hand it over to Jonathan. Any updates from your end?
Yeah, there aren't any specific updates from our last meeting. Nothing in particular. We just received kind of final numbers for our TEFAP entitlement dollars and our administrative funds for 2023, and they're very similar to what we had expected. So we're glad to get that information. But otherwise, no specific update.
Thank you, Jonathan. And then I will share, last month we did have folks from the Medicaid and Food Share Policy team join the call to talk about the end of extra benefits. So for folks who might not have been able to make that call last month, I'll just reiterate some information from them as it might be helpful to food pantries for forecasting and projecting the number of people you might have coming through your pantry lines and might be helpful in forecasting food that you might need. So this month, February, is the end of the extra benefits, the benefits that came, they originally are called the emergency allotments. So benefits that added additional benefits to help folks through the pandemic. Those extra benefits will be dispersed February 18th. So those are issued at a different time than individuals' regular benefits. And then there'll be some catch-up runs. So for folks who may have applied for benefits at the end of January or February, there might be some lingering extra food share benefits that will land on their cards in March and April, but that won't be a large number of households and won't be a large amount of issuance of a benefit at that time. The public health emergency is also now set to conclude in May, which does mean that there's some food share policy that will go back into effect starting in June. The two policies that I think are front and center on that is the flexibilities that were available to college students. So folks who are between 18 and 49 who are attending an institution of higher education at least half-time or more. There's some pretty strict requirements to make those individuals eligible during normal times. During COVID, some of those were eased up. So individuals who were participating in a higher institution of that age range were allowed to apply and be eligible if they were eligible for work study. They didn't have to be participating. And if in their FAFSA, they identified that they did not have any family support, financial support. So those things will no longer be the case, and it will go back to the need for showing some either work or exemptions from work in order for college students to be able to be eligible for food share benefits. The other is the drug testing of individuals who have had a drug felony in the last 5 years or more, or 5 years or less. So right now, in order to receive benefits, individuals who have applied for food share benefits have to share a negative drug screening in order to receive benefits if they have a felony in the last 5 years. That has been put on hold because of public health reasons, to not ask folks to go in for that drug testing. But after the public health emergency is ended, both of those requirements will go back into effect beginning June, but only at the time of food share renewals. So it won't hit all households at the same time, but as they come upon their renewal, they might have to provide some proof of eligibility or a drug test in the case of individuals with felonies in the last 5 years after the end of that the public health emergency. So those two situations are very specific policy situations that will impact some households. But the larger point there that I made is that those extra benefits mean a reduction in about $80 million of benefits on a monthly basis for Wisconsinites. So one thing I'd love to hear from you all is if you are starting to hear how that might impact your pantries and how you're forecasting meeting that demand. I did see one question in the chat from Liz. That is the requirement for drug testing in Wisconsin is only related to individuals with drug-related felonies. I will include in the notes a few links to DHS resources that will provide more information on all of that information. And you can find that on our website. Any questions for Carol, Jonathan, or myself? Lisa.
I'm not sure if this is the right time to ask the question. If not, you can move it someplace else. But last month when we were on the call, and through this whole process of talking about the extra benefits going away, the people at the food pantries have been encouraged to tell people about other programs and how they can get signed up and who's eligible and all that stuff. The food pantry that I'm a part of is pretty small. We serve, maybe 60 to 100 households a month. So we don't have the information we need on these various programs in a meaningful way to be able to pass it on to people. I did look up at the website that was noted in one of the meetings as a place where we might get some information, but there wasn't one nice little document that would list the various programs like WIC, the senior stock boxes, and all the things that people might be able to take advantage of. If there was one leaflet that listed all the programs, said what the benefits were, what the eligibility was, and how the people could contact them if they wanted to get more information or wanted to sign up, that would be really an incredible resource for us because we want to help. We don't have the information. Is something like that going to be coming about?
There are a few different resources available. I just dropped in the link in the chat there, a resource that Feeding Wisconsin has put together on our Get a Quest card website. It doesn't include all of the information that you just mentioned, but it includes some of the bigger programs on the back of that PDF. So if you click on either of those links to that, either of those images of those flyers, you can download the PDF. I think 211 is often our go-to, and there's another comment in the chat to check with your FoodWise program. Often your county extension also has a much fuller food resource guide available to you. It's a great resource.
I appreciate that. Just to show you how ignorant I am, I don't know what FoodWise is. So that's good information to have too. Thanks.
I just have a quick question regarding the Get a Quest card. I looked at the link just now. Do you have it in Spanish?
We do have those PDFs in Spanish. We just got them translated yesterday, so I will be adding those PDFs in Spanish. I can do that at the end of this call.
Okay, thank you so much.
I would just add, related to that, is that the Access website has a screener on it that folks can use and put in anonymous and general information describing their household and their who's in it, the income that they have, and it will test eligibility for a number of federal programs, SNAP being one of them, of course, and Badger Care, as well as WIC and others. So it's a great resource, very easy to use, and is designed to give people a shot from the hip as to their eligibility. Of course, eligibility is complex for these programs. It doesn't do that kind of it doesn't determine eligibility, but it gives an indication of possible or likely eligibility. And then in the printout is information on who to contact for the specific programs that a household appears to be eligible for. So that is definitely a resource folks should take a look at. And it's designed specifically for that purpose, to make it easy to look at eligibility across multiple assistance programs. Wisconsin.access.gov is the website, and handing out information on that could be very, very useful. Of course, and it's the same website that folks use if they already have, Food Share or Badger Care to maintain, their eligibility, and it's the same portal to manage benefits as it is to test for eligibility or to apply.
Thanks, Jonathan. That's a great suggestion. There was someone else with their hand raised, and I don't see it raised anymore. Feel free to unmute yourself and jump in.
And just to clarify that address, I'm not sure if I said it properly, but it's access.wisconsin.gov. And then there's a link there that says, see if you can get help, and they can test. That's where you would test for anonymous eligibility.
Oregon Area Food Pantry. Feel free to jump in.
Hi, this is Sherry. So I have a couple questions. One is, we were on Tuesday, I had 2 insurance agents come to the food pantry that wanted to have access to our clients to give them free personal care products in exchange for talking to them about how they could increase their or get access to Medicare or Medicaid Advantage programs for free. And they told me that they're already working with groups up in the Fox River Valley. I was just wondering if anybody here has any experience with these guys. I can't remember the name of the company, but it was a couple of young guys that seemed to be very sincere in their concern, but they were insurance agents looking to sell things. And so I was a little suspicious. And then the second one I had relates to the other resources. So what we're seeing is, without the decrease in food share benefits, we are already seeing a huge increase in the people accessing the pantry and the needs that they have when they do access. And what we're also seeing are kids that aren't eating lunch because free hot lunch isn't available anymore. And these families they're working families. They're the working poor. They make just a little bit too much for free and reduced lunch, but they don't have enough money to pay to buy their kids lunch. And so any resources to help people that don't qualify for any of these public programs would be really helpful, because that's really the working poor are the one they're really getting, they're really struggling right now. with all the other increases and things they have to pay for, like gas and water bill and all that sort of stuff.
On the topic of school meals, the only suggestion I can offer is that there is a coalition, Healthy School Meals for All, that is a group of advocates advocating for universal school meals. I think we had seen that during the pandemic, free meals really did make a big impact, especially on low-wage working families. And it's a hard hit for folks to come back, and as inflation and other things are stretching resources thin, to have to scrape up funds for school meals as well. So I can drop the link in the chat for that coalition if anyone's interested in getting involved more. But talking with your legislators are a great way to share your concerns about specific topics and legislative issues like that.
Yeah, and you bring up an excellent point there. There are families that are on that cusp and really can't afford that. You may want to encourage folks to reach out to their school district. Sometimes school districts have a pot of money or resources to help families in that situation, but just you may want to just confer with the school district about it. Regarding the insurance thing, and and Carol could maybe attest to this, but TEFAP providers are not allowed to provide that kind of information. The names and information about Pantry clients is completely confidential. If the insurance company wanted to provide brochures or a pamphlet or something, and individual pantries wanted to display that information, you certainly could. And if folks took the information, they might if they wanted to reach out on their own to the insurers about that, they could, but you certainly wouldn't want to provide a list of clients' names to anyone like that that doesn't have a authorized need to know.
Jonathan's exactly right. You would not be allowed to release any TEFAP names, any personal information.
And they're in terms of them talking, I guess I'd be, I don't know, Carol, I'm not sure, what DHS's policy on that is. I think it's a captive audience, and it's a sales pitch.
No, I would stay away from it totally.
Yeah, that's my sense is that
sounds like a big conflict of interest. They want rosters to contact people for sales calls.
Right, because where does that end? Then you get lenders coming in and offering loans or other sorts of things. I think the Pantry
and targeting that population.
Right.
Encourage them to make a generous donation of their products and leave their brochures.
I dropped some information about community eligibility provisions that allow for schools and districts to provide free meals if the poverty rate in those schools is high enough. And what Sherry said about Oregon is that that's not a low enough rate for them, but it might be of interest to other communities. Alyssa mentioned that Edgerton Food Pantry has been including household groceries, information about the Second Harvest Mobile Pantry that provides free meals for free food with no ID, address, or income requirements. And she dropped a link in the chat to access the mobile food pantry calendar. Any other comments on those questions or challenges shared or other topics for discussion? Any exciting news from any communities or challenges or any other things that folks would like to discuss with each other?
This is Sandy from Violet's Food Pantry in Eagle River. And we have an organization here that started probably a year and a half or so ago. It's called FORK, Feed Our Rural Kids. And they have set up pantries in the schools and also at a library and a town hall where they provide non-perishable items, and people can go in and get stuff. If the kids, they can pick it up, take it home with them. We also have a backpack program where we have a local church that provides backpacks to the kids to get them through the weekends. And we also, this fork also provided food for kids during the summer. And it has been a very active organization. And it seems to have worked out very well. And I think people are taking advantage of it. They're probably in 4 or 5 schools, and they don't need to provide anything. They can just go to this pantry and get the stuff that they need to get them through.
Thanks for sharing that. That sounds like a helpful model that folks can either tap into or take a closer look at.
They have a website. I believe it's FORK, F-O-R-K, and I don't know if it's just .com or .org. But they have been very active and have provided food for kids and others for a while now. And I know we have people that are taking advantage of it.
Thanks for sharing. Any other resources?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Or from anyone else on the call? Any other thoughts that folks might have? All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I will just share that these call. Oh, I actually have one question for everyone that's on this call. I was speaking with Carol and Jonathan and just asked about the frequency of these meetings. And it seems like with some of these these big changes, the end of the public health emergency, that things are kind of winding down when it comes to pandemic era topics for discussion. I'm wondering if you all find these useful to have on a monthly basis, or if moving them to every other month might be more helpful. I'd be interested in your thoughts, and feel free to unmute yourself and jump in with any comments that you have, or throw them in the chat. And that will help us to decide how we can best move forward and make the best use of folks' time, and be more planful about these calls. I'd also love to hear if you've found the guest speakers to be helpful. I think it offers some deeper dive into some topics that have come up on these calls. But maybe a monthly basis might not be necessary. So really interested in what you all think, and we will go about planning from there. I will also say that we will likely be transferring the login information for this call. So please watch your emails before the next one. The next one, if monthly, would be March 9th, but maybe given the initial feedback I'm seeing in the chat, if we move these bi-monthly, that might be an April meeting would be our next meeting. So either way, please watch the calendar invite. May change, and if it does, we will include that. We'll invite you all if you are on the registration list. We'll also put that on the Feeding Wisconsin website, that you can access the information on how to log into this meeting from there. So I will throw that link in the chat here. And then if you go to that link and go to the very bottom, you'll be able to click on the link to the previous Pantry call notes and recordings. And that is a way for you to catch up if you weren't able to make a call. So please save those two links if you can, and that will be a way that you can make sure to connect if we do change that link. Yep, so we will resend a calendar invite and also post that on the website. All right, thank you all for all that you do. Thanks for serving your communities and supporting hunger relief efforts. If there's anything that we can do to support you, please do reach out. But have a great rest of your week and take good care.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.